Wait a few to get people to pop in real quick. Just take a couple minutes while I sign up for this. Let me see. Then I'm gonna go ahead and link it as well.
I'm back.
Yo, alright. I'm gonna go ahead and link this stream thing, the Tera talk. And then I will start asking some questions. Alright, cool. So we got a few people in here already, so we're gonna go ahead and start. Let me go ahead and pop this so I can see if anyone's gonna ask anything. Alright, so we got Ceremonin, we got Drax, who else do we got? We got Majesco all in the chat. And just in case you guys don't know, Ceremonin is also a content creator, and he makes a bunch of other really nice guides for dungeons and content. So, and then we got Drax and Majesco, which are also in the guild, really good players. If you guys see them in Overlid, just let them know you want to run with them. And then also, low-key, you want to join our guild, let me know and let us know. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first question. For the first one, it's where do you see the game for its future and its player base? Like, how do you guys think the state of the game is pretty much like right now on console?
I felt like it's still in beta.
Still in beta. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I feel the same way, kind of. Because there's a lot of stuff they can work on.
I don't really know how to answer that because I think the current state isn't really reflective of what is to come. I think a lot of people want to have what the PC version of the game has, and it's not necessarily. You can't really measure both because it's coming out. I
Yeah.
know there's a lot of cool things coming this summer for Tera people, and I know people will be excited for that. A really hard dungeon that's 422Y level coming out in just next week on Tuesday, and I don't think people are going to be able to clear that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
see.
and that's not just it. I think people want more than just dungeons. I think people want the classes: Valkyrie, Ninja, and Gunner, Male
Yeah.
Brawler, maybe. But all in due time.
Yeah. No, I get that. I feel like the content. Oh, I feel like the content is a big thing, but for me, it mainly is a bunch of the bug issues. Like, for example, the noise in SS when you fight
Right.
the Imperator. It's like that's just he still says he's loud when he says "I will crush you" or something like that at the beginning. It's so loud, like
Right.
even with all the audio, and that's been a big issue since the beginning. I feel like that should have kind of been resolved, but I mean, it's still, in my opinion, I still think it's all just a working process, I guess.
Yep. I think the funny thing is, like, I'm in a Facebook group for Tera PS4, and a lot of the members there have made a meme where, all these loud noises like trains and then airplanes, and then just the very most loudest person is this guy, so, I mean,
Yeah,
it's definitely loud, I do agree. I try not to do that dungeon.
yeah.
Okay.
What's up, Catch?
My dog unplugged my router.
Oh, all right. Well, here, since you're here, so the first question was, where do you see the game for its future and its player base? Like, what do you think is gonna, or I don't know exactly how to make that question any more clear, but other than where do you think it's gonna be at in the future, or how do you think it's gonna be like in the future, aside from like
It
the
depends on when
PC
we get.
content?
It depends on like how fast we get content. Really, depends on how well the game does.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, just for the fact that like console players are greedy when it comes to content. We like a lot of content.
yeah, I can vouch for that. I do like my content.
Yeah, like I mean, and the thing that like is like kind of makes a lot of people mad is they see like how far PC is like how far ahead, and it's like why, and everyone's just complaining why they don't have everything PC has, and
Yeah,
that's why I know a lot of people quit playing because they're like, oh well, I'll just wait till we have everything PC has.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of what ceremony was going off of. So for the
All
second
right.
question, unless you guys have anything else you need to say.
I did want to state something. It's like, um, I think that there's this mentality going on that you need to clear these dungeons and go to get to 65 as fast as possible and
Yeah,
just skip everything. Players, and I kind of want to, I don't know, take the opportunity to say that, if you haven't played the game on PC before, like if you know the game on PC already, I mean, get to 65 and do what you want. But if you haven't and it's your first time, I mean, I think you should really take the game in, take it slow because you can burn out pretty quick. It's an
yeah,
MMO. You burn out
yeah.
pretty quick. There's a lot of stuff to do at the end, so just take it slow and enjoy the game.
100%. Alright, so for the second question, how is the matchmaking in the game? Like, what do you guys think about the whole matchmaking process in the game?
In what sense?
Like, um, queuing, just I guess if you're gonna compare it to other MMOs, or I guess the fact that for me, when it comes to matchmaking, I don't like the fact that I can't queue up for both PvP or PvE at the same time. Or no, can you? I don't remember.
You
Or
can.
multiple
You can,
PvPs.
yeah. All right, that's right.
Multiple PvPs you can't, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, multiple, yeah. All right. So like, I don't know. I don't really know exactly on that question. It's just
Oh man.
what do you guys think about matchmaking when it comes to no, scratch that question.
Scratch that question.
Scratch that
Yeah,
question.
let's
What are your thoughts
86
on?
it. Just 86 it.
All I have to say is that there was that instance today
I completely ruined it.
when
No, you're good.
we were running RM, and like I queued up at the same time you did, and we were the only.
Oh,
ones
that's
that
right.
queued
That's
up.
why I asked that question.
And
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
still couldn't find us. Like,
Yeah. Okay, so that question's still gonna stay here, but it's gonna be kind of reworded. So when it comes to matchmaking, for example, if you have a group like what we had earlier, and one of them leaves or two of them leaves, and you're trying to find another person, like let's say all you need is a DPS or a tank or a healer, right? But you can't get them, and even if you leave the dungeon, you can't come and invite them because it won't let you. Oh, whoops. What?
yeah.
I
know why
don't even
that's a
know.
thing.
Like I'm like my
You should
mind
be able
is.
to invite guild members and
Yeah.
friends, even if you queue an instance. Like that's really
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the only thing I don't like about it.
I feel like, yeah, because I don't like the fact that you have to queue up at the same time, and even when you do queue up at the same time, it still takes like
It didn't
10
find
years
us.
to do that. I'm not sure why. But I think what they could do is they should definitely make it to where you can invite other players that are either in your friends list or your guild to the match
Right.
with that when you do matchmaking. Because when you do matchmaking, you can't invite other players because it's all mixed in with other servers, I guess.
Yep.
So,
And it's weird because
So my-
when you look at the group menu, it says like eligible friends,
yeah,
and even if people are there, you still can't invite them, even though they're technically eligible.
So the way it works is, I don't even think there's a priority on server. Um, at least the way it's been explained to me is if you're at Walmart, that's the only way I could really explain it, and you're all at a checkout line, you're in the line, you're in the line of the queue. If you leave that queue, a lot of people do go in a queue in a game and they think they could just leave the queue and then go back in, and then that's how it works. It's
Yeah.
literally like leaving the line of that checkout line and going to the back of the line. There's people going, I mean, I've had queues where, where we queue at the same time and it doesn't pop up, and we just keep trying and trying, and then finally they get it. And it's just basically a line of people, and if they leave the
just a
queue, then
line.
the person will come up next. It's a random thing, but it's not taking into account like a priority of your server. It's all the servers, right?
yeah,
So
it's all servers, yeah.
They should be able to invite people. Like if you go outside the dungeon and you invite a friend or something. I would like that, but I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
Well, I think if there was a thing like that, I think if a person left willing, like just left the group, you could be able to invite
Yep.
friends, but if you kicked, you'd have to matchmake. Because some people would try to abuse that. They're like, oh well, my friend just got online. I want to get him in here, so let's kick
Yeah,
this guy and get in him.
that is
People would
true.
probably like abuse that kind of. So like if they did implement that, it'd be like if someone just left group.
I have done that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
We have
Well-
done that and used the instant matchmaking system and got lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright,
Although
so,
I mean, it was easier for me when we first did it. It was in March 28th, and we were doing Nemicron Factory, and all the people I wanted to queue with were already queued because
yeah,
they were the only people that were that level. So I was like, yay! And they were simpler times then. And
yeah.
it's not a. Now you just gotta just hope for the best. Sadly.
Alright,
Very
so for
true.
the third question, how important do you think pets are in this game? Not the mystic pets, but the like the Terra store pets. Do you think they're viable for end game content, or are they viable just only at the first level?
What for the
None.
baking and the trade broker and stuff?
No, for like your out of loot pets,
Yeah, the auto loot, the banker pets, and all those.
Oh, that's not necessarily.
like caddy, totes, and all
Not
them.
necessary.
You can call
I
it
don't use
important.
mine.
Just spam X. I
No.
mean,
I say like for me the pets are really only used for early game.
Yeah,
Because like just so much stuff drops and you'll be spamming X for a while.
for sure, yeah.
But
I
other
think
than that, I feel like when they have like the Felicity that does auto gathering, I don't know if I really get much benefit from that because all I do is run dungeons.
I mean, if you have
Yeah.
a pet that has like an inventory,
with the
pretty
bank.
Yeah, like totes.
Yeah, that's the what I was gonna actually say. Is the bank pet? I think is the only one that would be useful, even for
Yeah, it's
end
useful for
game
sure.
for end game.
Yeah.
But other than that, I wouldn't recommend people spending on the auto loot pet versus the banker pet. If you know they're like the hoarder type of players who like to not throw stuff away.
Yeah. But it
What I
also
started
depends
to
on the
do-
player base, right? Cause
Yeah,
sorry, like I think the mindset right now is at end game players are trying to be the most pretty, or
yeah, true.
most
All about
cosmetically appealing. You know, like they're like, ooh, I'm not gonna lie, I want that Felicity because it's cute as hell. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the only reason I would want it. I don't really care about the auto loot.
Yeah, yeah. I think
Yeah.
I'd like to get that candy spinner catch.
I mean, I always have that extra one.
Oh, I don't have any money for
And
it.
actually, one thing I would like to see with pets is I wish you could buy the augments for them. Like if you just have let's say like you get like a pet from Feats. All it is just a pet. I wish you could like go either like buy or have they want to do it like pretty much buy it or well buying it would be the only option. You could buy like like $3 augment to give it auto gathering or something. Or
Yeah.
auto
Oh
needing.
yeah, I see
You
what
just-
you're saying. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Or give it the inventory slots.
But I think
Augment.
what would be pretty cool is to have a pet that can actually do some type, like not a stupid amount of damage, but just like a little bit of damage. So it makes it easier
Well,
for
see-
classes like healers when it comes to BAM farming, because that shit sucks. So,
Well, that's why I like Neverwinter pets a little better because some of them gave you buffs and stats for having
Yeah.
them.
yeah.
True. Yep.
Alright, so for the fourth question, what are your thoughts on item levels? How important do you think item levels are in this game?
Um, I don't really know how to answer that
Yeah. Well,
because I don't really know how to answer that because I mean, it's important in the sense that you get an idea of what the person has, and
Yeah.
really an item level it doesn't mean anything. There's people in, I think it's the Bolsa server or Nexaris that have 426 just because they got Imperator to plus 15, and I'm just like,
yeah.
they just want the numbers, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best gear.
Yeah.
Like you would still be better off with full guile and then trying to get your ambush gear. But some people want like a small percentage that's not worth the resources and time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a mixed answer. Like, I think it's important in the sense of knowing what you have, but I don't think it's important to have like the biggest eye level just because you're gonna level some tier, I don't know, 8 gear because it's garbage instead of getting tier 11.
Yeah. Yeah. For me,
Well, I feel like I feel like item levels don't matter. For me, it's just
I
whether
think it comes
you're
to a
417
point.
or 423, you're not gonna find much of a difference in your
Yeah.
actual like play itself, except for more defense. I just feel like I'd rather have a good player at 417 than have someone at 423 who's not as that good of a player.
Yeah. Yeah. So
True,
like for
yeah.
me, for me, item levels don't matter when it comes to, you know, a certain amount of points. For example, like you said, if you had someone at 417 versus someone at 423, it's mainly because, you know, they have the extra gear, a little bit of gear, but they could have the wrong stats in their gear. For example, like someone might have, I don't know, attack speed, and something else, versus, you know, having damage to enraged enemies and all this other stuff that helps them put out more damage, or their time to kill is a lot faster than the 423s or 426s. So I think it comes down to a certain amount of item levels, and then it comes down to the stats. Well, stats first, obviously, but you know, you need you need the
Yeah.
item level for the stats. So I
Yeah,
guess it's in between.
There's
It is.
only
It's a
so
mix.
much gear can do for you, though.
Yeah,
I think it's more
Yeah.
about learning your class and really like learning the intricacies within the
yes,
class.
yeah, most
Like,
definitely.
yeah, if you have like plus 15 weapons with perfect rolls, that's all well and good. But
But if you don't know
if you
your
don't have
class,
good
then yeah,
rotations, or you can't learn mechanics or anything like that of like bosses and stuff, then there's only so much the gear will do for you.
yeah,
That's true. And that's kind of going back to what I said originally, like, I don't even know, I think it was the second question, where I think the mentality is that players that have not played this game before are just going to 65 and they're just not learning their rotations. I've played on a Reaper without people knowing it's me, and see this priest who was talking about how he was a good priest. Not once did he buff. He didn't have a Grace of Resurrection on himself to self-res. He didn't put Kaya's shield at all. He was just attacking and healed minimally. So I'm just over there like, how did you not learn this getting there? So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else to say, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
It definitely comes
so
down to like learning and understanding your class over the stats. Yeah, it definitely
for
does.
sure, and there's some common misinformation going on where they're just like, I remember when it first came out on console, it was people were saying how come I can't max out my gear? It says 307 out of 315 or whatever. And all anybody said was just get it to gold stats. And it's like,
Yeah,
what? It's like,
yeah,
no. Not necessarily. I mean, yes, gold stats, but there's specific ones you should probably be hitting.
yeah, yeah. Because I've seen some people
Yeah.
with really bad ones, but it is what it is. They'll learn. And
Yeah.
then for the next question, which role do you think has it the hardest? DPS, tanks, or the healers? And why?
Healers. Okay. Y'all seen
You,
LK hard mode? It's healers, no question.
not
Yeah.
even.
I think it really comes down to
I.
the player. Most of the time, it comes down to the players.
Yep.
Because for me, I don't think I can tank that well in this. I've never tanked in this, but since don't have much experience as a tank, that's for me is going to be the hardest class. And since I've played as a healer and a DPS in almost every other MMO I've ever played, then for me, tanks would come down to being one of the harder classes.
Right. So, having healed through uh, all the endgame dungeons except Sky Cruiser, because I haven't had a reason to do it, I think tanking is probably the ones that have it the worst. I did one yesterday with a tank that had never done it before, and we are just like, "Here's your first run." So we taught him, and it was difficult because if you think of, I mean, all K is just AIDS, but if you think of like Ruinous Manor, for example, where it's not even the first two bosses, the last boss, you have to like iframe this, you can't block that, you can't do this, you have to go behind her. If the
Yeah.
lasers come, you have to go to the left or right. It's just so much to do for the tank while, trying to maintain aggro and trying to maintain positioning so the DPS can attack behind her, because sometimes she'll turn around and attack. Um, I think they had the hardest job, at least for now. I mean, as a healer, I mean, we get a hard job, but it's just healing people. But it's really a lazy job, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
necessarily something.
The only problem for me as a healer, or as a mystic in general, is only one iframe. That, I mean, I do have 4-second cooldown, but still, it's like you use the iframe all for one thing, and then something else happens. That's for me is the only difficult part about being a healer. But other than that, I mean, I don't have too much of a problem. But
Right. Well, that's where, like we were talking about, stats come into play. So your weapon
yeah.
should have a double
Oh
cooldown
yeah,
reduction.
yeah. That's why I'm at four
You know?
seconds, rather than 6.
Exactly. So it's like sometimes it's 4, and if you add the 10%, it's like, I don't know, it's barely 4. It's like 3 point something.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's mixed. I think tank gets the harder job, but that's just my opinion.
And Catch, you got any input?
I agree the tank being the harder spot. I kind of do, because the tank does have to worry about so much at one time. Like you said, positioning, keeping aggro, not dying, and knowing the fight and everything about the fight. Like in RM
Yep.
Manor, it's just like if you have a tank that doesn't really know the attack pattern all that well, and they're not calling out the back slam, most of the time your DPSs are going to die because they depend on the tank to call that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, even for like the runs I've had, we don't really have the tank call it out. We have the DPS call it out because, and I think it's harder for the tank as well because DPS learn it a specific way, where if she moves left, it looks left to you, but for the tank it looks right.
Yeah.
It's completely opposite. So if she moves left to you from behind, she's moving right to the tanks, and there's really no POV for tanks I've noticed on YouTube or anywhere except for healers and DPS for tanks. And like I said, I think they get the harder job.
Yeah. The unpopular opinion, DPS has got the hardest job. Because if you don't know your rotation, you don't know any of that, you don't know the right stats, you're going to still do damage, but you're not going to put out enough. Unpopular opinion, but still relevant. But for the
I
next
think agree to disagree.
for the next question, what are your thoughts on the servers? Do you think it should be like region specific servers like the way it is with EU and NA, or have a server merge where multiple servers join into one, or have servers where it's like you have one big server but it's just a bunch of different channels in that one server? So that way you could just switch channels rather than switching servers, I guess.
I know for like Xbox has that. The thing for PlayStation is that it's more of a license agreement.
Yeah, for Sony.
You can't really. It's hard unless it's like not Sony hosted.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard. I would love it if EU and NA like was all like globally shared. Hell, even Xbox, and it was all globally shared, and it was not that many servers. I think the servers we have now, I think there's too many.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
I definitely think there should be a
Yeah.
merger. I know there's a lot of players from Tulsa that want to go to Drekaloth, just because there's more players, and a lot of I was talking to, I don't know, it was on Switch or something, and there was a lot of people from Ovalith and from Hellsrat that just want to go to Nixaris, or they want to go to Draco, or they want to go to Thulsa,
Yeah.
because the other servers are pretty much, it's not filled with people.
Yeah, a lot of the servers are dying out, or at least Ovalith that I noticed this morning. It was at because normally it's always at high, and then the second channel is normally like at medium. But just this morning, the first server was only like at medium, barely. I was like, dude, there's no one here.
Barely.
But yeah, I
You
feel
know,
like
I
it
feel
should
like
definitely
they
be
should
a
just kept the 3 servers that were in the beta instead of making another 2 more PvEs.
yeah,
Well, here's why that would have been an issue. Because a lot of people are completionists and they would have wanted server first for stuff,
true.
and had they just kept it, then that would have just made a whole issue where like, oh, we didn't even get a chance to get server first because of all these people that paid. This is totally pay to win, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I get that.
So
So yeah,
there wouldn't have been a win-win situation.
Yeah, so server merge would have definitely been a really good one, a good thing to have if they do intend to do that.
Yeah, I think for now it's too early, but
I don't know, because there's
later on, maybe in a few months, probably contemplate a server merge.
because I mean, how when did this game come out?
March 27th.
March, April, May. I mean, I don't know. I would say like maybe every 3 months would be good, because that's what 4 server merges a year or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, because you also gotta think whenever they bring out the new content, they're gonna have those sudden rush of people coming in and out.
Yeah.
Precisely, yeah.
And then the servers, if they do a server merger, they're like, oh, we don't have all the room for all these people on these servers.
Well, I mean, that's why you also have
I would say
multiple
like,
channels
a
too,
year.
though.
I say after about a year, or after they're done releasing like all the major content. Because console still has like a lot of major content still to get that like PC has. So I feel like a server transfer too early would be bad because when you get those influx of people, you'll be sitting probably 1, 2, 3 hour queues.
I don't know. Would you? I feel like the queue times are going to be worse if the servers are just too low versus being at a high amount.
Well, no, I'm talking about getting into the server itself. If you were to
getting
condense
it.
them,
Yeah.
if you were to condense them too early.
I see what you're saying. I see. Alright, so for the next question, do you think dungeons are lacking the real dungeon experience? For example, the dungeons that we had before level 65, like the first dungeon, I don't remember what it's called, but you know, not necessarily just the first dungeon, but all the dungeons before level 65 had felt more alive to me versus the dungeons that we have now at level 65. I mean, I get that enemy mobs aren't going to drop any loot or whatever, like feedstocks, but I think it would be nice to have those mobs and just a chance of them dropping, like maybe 1 or 2 feedstocks or so, and alkahest or whatever. It doesn't really matter, but I think it would be nice to have dungeons more alive like they were versus just going to the boss, killing the boss, and going to the next boss, and so on and so on. So what are your guys' thoughts on the dungeons that we have at level 65?
I don't know if anybody else wants to speak before I do.
I can. I feel like I kind of agree. For me, oh my alarm. Okay. For me, whenever I'm doing like dungeons, I like having ads to clear on my way to next bosses. It's just how I am. I feel like just after fighting a long boss, just having some quick ads, you can just destroy real quick, kind of like resets the mood for it. So just constant health pulls after health pulls after a health pull.
Yeah. So like for me, I think what would have been cool is to have the dungeons that we previously had to, get like an upgrade or whatever, or a hard mode version of them for level 65s. So that way, like if Sky Garden or something, we can run Sky Garden for people who are like, I don't know, 410 plus or something like that. Because I liked Sky Garden. It was a pretty fun dungeon. The only one I don't like is Golden Labyrinth.
I think The dungeons pre-65 were more like a warm-up for 65.
Yeah,
I do agree. I never really saw it until you said it. I hadn't noticed that it's just boss after boss, really. Um, but I mean, I really think that's just the end game for you, right? You don't want to stay
yeah,
there too long. You just kind of want to complete it and get the materials you're up for. It's not there for fun, really. I like
yeah.
it because it's mechanically inclined, whereas previously you
It
could
was
just
just
tank and
go
spank every
straight.
single
Yeah.
dungeon.
Yeah.
There's no mechanics really until Manias Core. I hope nobody did that because that dungeon is something else.
I have not done it.
I still gotta do
That's
it
the
for
thing
my
that's getting me from
trophy.
platinum the game. Yeah, I
I mean,
agree. I like the dungeons before you get to like 410 dungeons are really lackluster in mechanics department.
well,
They're just
yeah, and then
tank spank and done. And
yeah,
that's why you see so many people that like you said, rush to the game just learn their class. They'll come to like the 410 dungeons for the first time and just constantly just can't stay alive, keep dying, and just a burden to the team because
yeah. That's
I
why I
forgot
feel
what I was
like
saying, man.
because the jump from the 355 dungeons, or even the levels like 60 dungeons to the 355 dungeons is kind of a big jump. But then the jump from 355 to 410s and then 410s to 417s is a really big jump. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't really ease you in. I feel like they should kind of make it to where
It
each
doesn't.
dungeon, for each, higher level dungeon you get into, kind of eases you in with mechanics. Because all the dungeons before, like you said, all the dungeons before the level 65 dungeons, they aren't mechanic heavy. They have no mechanics. You just go in and then smack them all and then you're done. But then once you get to 410, like I remember when I first did Lilith's Keep, it was a lot harder
Mm,
because of the fact that I wasn't used to all the mechanics just from Fire Pelt alone, and then Lilith's Keep or from Lilith's as well was it was a lot harder versus all the other mechanics that I've or dungeons that I've done. I feel like they just need to kind of find a way to ease you into the higher dungeons.
yeah. Well, and that's also I remember I was gonna say is like if you learn your class, like if you take your time, like I said, if you take your time, just play through the game and learn your class. When you get to those heavy mechanic fights, it won't be that bad on you because you'll know your rotations, you know your dodging and everything on all your skills. Versus if you rush through it and you first hit 410s or 355s, it's a huge wall because you don't know your class that well, so you're just making constant mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just go along the lines of saying that knowing your class is going to be enough. I mean, it will be at a certain point, but
Well, knowing your class will help, will make it
it'll
a lot
definitely help
easier
out a
in the
lot. Yeah,
transition.
but the fact that there isn't that much telegraph that you have to worry about in the dungeons before 65, um, I feel like you don't have. It's because you don't have to worry about it too much, so you don't have to worry about like a certain build or anything. I mean, I guess there aren't any builds for before level 65 because you don't have all your skills unlocked. But
Yep.
anyways, for anyone need to add anything else before we go on? No? All
No, I
right.
mean, I'm just saying like what I've been saying throughout like this whole thing is, learn your class,
Yeah, learning
learn
your
your
class is pretty much,
abilities,
yeah.
learn your movements. Some people, to this day, there are people asking me how do I iframe, and it just blows my mind. I mean, learn how to iframe. Go into Lilith's Keep normal mode for actually not even that. Go into Democron Factory normal mode, and that laser that hits you, try to iframe that and learn from that. Just backstep into it. You'll learn for Lilith's Keep hard mode. Lilith's Keep hard mode has or normal mode has what does she do? It's like every
The
dungeon prepares you for
the
the next dungeon.
bubble
You know what I
one,
mean?
the orbs, yeah. Yeah, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying.
So it all has like, it's all kind of continuous in its own way.
So for the next question, so question number 8, what is your opinion on gearing on Terra console or Terra compared to other games or other MMOs? Like, yeah, if you've played other MMOs, some MMOs aren't as grindy, some are a lot more grindy, and like
Mm-hmm.
with this, like I like the guile farming, like farming for your guile gear and all that, but farming for the Imperator and ambush and all that. I mean, I don't mind that it's very grind heavy, but I don't necessarily like that it's like a very low drop rate, and then you have to farm like several millions of gold in order to get the materials if you're gonna buy those materials. Versus, just
I don't like the, I don't
getting.
like the craft to progress. I don't. I'd rather just clear bosses for the gear. Because not only do you have to worry about getting mats first, you got to worry about getting the design to drop for you. And it's
Yeah.
the design you won't need for your class.
For me, it's strange because I'm used to the brand new gear system that we're getting in sometime this year for console, and essentially it's not Alcahest or feedstock anymore.
Yeah.
It's diamonds and emeralds and specific items. It's all about grinding and doing specific things and doing dailies, and the dailies actually give you things that you need, not like dumb feedstock. It actually gives you things to go ahead, and it's more reliant on it's more reliant on gold than it is on RNG. So I like that gear system way more than this one. I never really liked this one. I don't like the design thing. I hate crafting. I really do.
Yeah. That's just like
But
a.
the thing with that is, yeah, I don't like crafting the quatrefoil. Yeah, I don't know if you
Oh,
at all know what that is.
yeah, no.
The goddess tears. No,
I was like, you know what? Never mind. I saw it. I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Because in the future updates, all your gear upgrades to the next set. So if you have your guardian gear, you get it to +9, and when you're ready, it goes to is it twist shard, and then twist shard when it gets to +9, it gets to frost metal, and so on and so forth. It's the same thing with your accessories and your circlet and your what's it called? Oh my goodness, your whatever that's called, brooches. Yeah.
Brush, yeah.
So the brooches eventually can become a quatrefoil, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather do that than
Yeah.
farm for this because this is way too much for me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I feel like.
try getting handkerchiefs right now. It's almost
Oh god.
It's impossible until the 22nd. The 22nd has guaranteed drops on Ruinous Hard Mode.
Oh,
What?
what?
I mean, the only reliable way of getting them is through PvP, but you can only get one a week, and I'm not down to grind Kumas for 7,000 hours.
Well, let me tell you about Corsair Stronghold. It's now available.
I don't think it's that good. I'm not a fan, personally.
How could you?
Yeah, I know it's
Boy.
blasphemy to say, because everybody on my server is like, oh my god, CS, it's so fun.
It's fun if your team is good.
I'm not a fan. Granted, I
Yeah.
haven't put that much time into it. I've only played probably 5 or 6 matches.
It's fun when you're not constantly frame rate lagging everywhere. It's rational.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of, I don't know, it might be a personal thing, but for when I get in there, it's like really laggy. I don't know if that's for everybody, but loading
It is
40
for
people
some,
into a game
yeah.
is like not great.
Yeah.
I
It's not like it for me,
PvP.
but sometimes it can be.
Speaking of PvP, I don't know why nobody plays 3v3 PvP. That was
That's not true.
really fun. I've only been able to queue with people. It's one guild from Nixaris that are always playing it, and it's five people from the same guild and me. And it's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Why isn't anybody playing this? It's really fun, and it's probably easier to get into than finding 40 people for CS. But,
True. Well, not now. Now it's a little more easier to get into CS because of the event going on.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, strongbox keys and all that stuff.
Yep. Well, the Strongbox key is normal, but I meant the that you can win a headset and all this stuff.
Oh,
and
yeah,
costumes and stuff.
Yeah, true.
Yep.
Alright, so for the ninth.
I used to queue 3v3s all the time. There was a time where nobody at all queued for 3v3s, and we just did a guild 3v3 and just filmed it. And it's like, well, that's our lives now. Yeah.
3v3. I need to do 3v3s. I haven't done any. But for the ninth question, what type of events would you like to see happen in Terra that may or may not be in PC? So not necessarily just like the strongbox events, but things that are that aren't in PC, I guess, or things that are in PC. For example, the XP, double XP, and not necessarily just the scrolls that we got, because that doesn't really affect anyone that has the elite status, but just like an actual global double XP that can add on to your elite status or something, or double the loot drop chances or whatever.
I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to get a double drop event sometime soon.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Um, what would I like? I mean, there's a couple events. There's quite a few events coming for summer, without spoiling anything. But I think, there was one. I mean, I like the silly murder mystery thing going on right now. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. I feel like somebody's gonna win something. Like something's happening. I think it's it's some neck. I don't know if you guys saw the Twitch stream with Kitty and them dressed up as officers trying to figure out everything. I
Honestly, I haven't even done
So
anything with the murder mystery. I honestly didn't really know much about it until like a couple days ago.
yeah. So I mean, I like the initiative. There's a lot of things, but it's a small company.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In the wave of it all, it's a small company, and I don't know. I know there's a lot of things coming this summer that people will like. So
Well, hopefully, hopefully
Drop
it's
the exclusive, bro.
nah, nah.
I would
Drop
be in
the
prison.
The exclusive news report. Right here.
I would be in
The
prison.
exclusive breaking news.
But so for the next question, second to the last question, it's what are some major bugs that you still think is an issue in this game? I know we've asked this last week, but still like to keep this question around.
Really bad frame rate lag.
The frame rate.
Just constant lag. Yeah, the frame rate's just terrible. I feel like it's been worse this week.
Yeah, I don't know why it feels like.
Like ever since ever since like we've had that freeze glitch, if you try to like type a message or say anything, the frame rate's also been like the lag itself just been terrible.
Yeah, I was gonna say the freeze one is a really big issue for me because I like to message people or just chat in the area chat or whatever when I'm in High Watch, and I just don't like the fact that I have to wait like 5 minutes before I can send another message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
I don't know. There's a few, and I haven't really been keeping up with them, if I'm being honest. um, but there are quite a few, and I know they try to fix it as fast as possible. But so the reason it takes so long sometimes is because NMAS is a publisher
yeah,
and Bluehole is a developer. So the way the hierarchy would work, and I was explaining this to another NMAS partners actually, like last week, is let's say you the public report a bug. NMAS would then verify the bug and then send the bug to a detailed thing and then have it translated, then send that translation over to Korea to Bluehole, and then Bluehole will have to have a fix and then verify if the fix works and send it back to NMAS, and then NMAS has to see if the
Yeah.
fix actually works on their offline servers and then patch it. If it's a server thing, then there's no maintenance needed. If it's a game bug, then there's a maintenance.
yeah,
That was a lot of talking, but
yeah.
yeah,
That's a lot.
I mean, they know there's a lot. There's this thing they're trying to ban the gold sellers through PSN, rather
Yeah.
than not PSN, but rather through console. Like completely ban their console instead
That would
of
be nice.
because they're banning their IPs and stuff. But I mean, there's only so much you could do.
Global
Yeah.
chat is infested with gold sellers.
I think what would also help a lot is to be able to have your own chats set up rather than because I mean if they can't let's say like they can't get those gold sellers banned, I think another alternative would be to have your own guild chat or your own
Yeah, that's
your
coming.
own setup chats. All right, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was
that's
gonna
coming.
say
Yeah.
that's a big no-no. And then I guess for me, I don't know if it's a bug or if it's just not implemented yet. Is the whole guild setup as well? That
Yep.
I don't really like how the guild is all set up right now, which is actually going to be the next question. Um, what makes a good guild? I think what makes a good guild is having a good guild setup. So like being able to see when players are online, offline, how long they've been inactive and whatnot. Because I've been doing a lot of purging and stuff in my guild, you know, trying to delete or kick the inactive players, and sometimes I kick the active players or somewhat active players that aren't in the Discord, which obviously they should be in the Discord, but it is what it is. And I've been getting messages, why did they get kicked? And I'm just like, oh, well, I didn't know you were active or not, yada yada yada. So I feel like that's a big one.
So this guild system is actually one from 2012, and it's not the actual guild system for Terra. Um, in fact, there's a few bugs with it. As you may or may have not noticed, some guilds have like 134 out of 100.
Yeah.
Um, the way that works is because before you cap it, you have alts join the guild of different people. It doesn't count them as members,
Okay.
and it's a bug. It's not supposed to be a thing. Um, Apart from that, I mean, yeah, the guild system is actually pretty cool. It's actually one of the way better guild systems on MMORPGs. I mean, there's guild levels, guild buffs, guild skills you could use, guild quests, and the guild skills or the guild levels puts you into the rankings. Right now, the guild rankings are based on activity, and it still kind of works that way on with the new guild system, except that let's say if you're level 200, you're number one on the list. But if you're level 200 and there's another guild level 200, then it kind of matches based on the activity of both guilds. So if one is more
Yeah.
active, then that one's number one. So it's a mixed match. Right now, the system we have is old as hell, and it's nothing big. I mean, they're trying to figure out if they're going to allow emblem uploads instead of making the emblems. Um, but of course, some people abuse that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can definitely see people doing that.
yeah, and with that also comes guild wars that you can bet on with other guilds and actually that doesn't even work on PvE servers anymore. They took that away, so it's PvP servers. And then there's civil unrest, which is weekly, where guilds basically go into an instance version of Velica, and they all just kill each other, and the winner just gets a sky castle. Basically, the top 10 get like a
Yeah.
sky castle
Yeah,
where
that's
they
what
have
Bill was
extra
talking about.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Looks-
so I mean, I wouldn't really worry about that. As per your question of what makes a good guild, I think it's the structure. I think
Yeah.
it's the leadership, and I've seen some guilds where they're like, if you don't watch um, my stream or my video, I'm kicking you out. And I'm just like, what? uh, what even is this? I saw this guild like only recruiting streamers and content creators, and I'm just like, but why? Like, we're the
Yeah.
most flaky people. Like, we're probably gonna we're not gonna be on because we're making videos or we're making videos
Yeah.
of something else. Like,
Yeah.
it's really based on you and the way you're setting up your morals for your guild. I know I'm talking a lot.
Oh, no,
We'd
you're
see
good.
in banner like,
You're good,
but
dude.
I know I have a lot of issues. There's this one guild that has an issue with me, where they're like, why? What's going on? You know what? They just don't like how we lead, and they make up all this stuff, and that just comes down to guild politics and making some stuff up about other guilds. It's just
Yeah.
propaganda how it works, but probably means you're doing a good job. I mean, we've
Oh, yeah.
been top 5 guild since March 27th, since release. Like number 5, number 3, number 4, number 2, number 1. Last
How
week
does
we're number 1. I don't know what we are now.
how does the guild thing even work though with the leader, the whole roster server sheet, whatever it's called? Let me see what is it even called?
It's based on the activity.
Okay. Okay, so it is
Yep,
still
it's
activity.
completely based.
Yeah, because we've been at
Yep,
one
right now
for a
it's
long
only
time.
activity.
So we're the most active guild, even though we've got like fucking 3 people.
Yeah, you got to think about that because somebody was talking smack about how my guild is. We don't really do much. We have like 10 to 20 people on it at all times, and they're just like, "Oh, you guys aren't really active. We're going to another guild." And I'm like, "I want you to think about this. We're number one guild. We made number one by having 10 people on at all times for a week. What makes you think the number two and the second page or the third page is going to have more than us when it's
True,
based on it's ranked on activity? I don't know where your mindset's on that, but good luck."
true, true.
I think events also. You know, guild events. We had a hide and seek and we gave away 2,000 EMP. I don't know. I mean, it's just having fun, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Prime, where's our hide and seek event, bro?
Dude, I was actually thinking about making it
Yeah,
some
we
type
need to hide
of
and
some
seek.
type of event going on for us, like kind of what fuck, I forgot. He's not in the he doesn't play Terra anymore, but he did like a small guild event in Discord. That was, I mean, it was a way to get people to join our Discord in the first place. He did a raffle, which I think was a pretty cool thing. But yeah, to go off of what you were saying with what makes a good guild, or does anyone else want to input before I say anything?
Nah, you got it.
Yeah, so like with what makes a good guild, based off of other games, like when I played DC and Skyforge or Neverwinter, it's like you said, the structure, the leadership, and all that. But I also think it does come down to just knowing. It's kind of like a job in a way, knowing the members or the other players' availability when they can go on, so you can kind of, you know, not schedule people, but kind of have a set schedule of like we're gonna do dungeons at this time, yada yada yada. Because I think it would be nice to have certain times of running dungeons, but it kind of just doesn't work that well when everyone's on at different times. So having people on at the same time would definitely make a guild a lot better and a lot more fun. And having, like you said, guild events and stuff. So like BAM farming with a bunch of players, a bunch of guild members all in channel one, you know, would be interesting. I mean, it won't be like viable because the fact that, you know, BAMs don't share the loot, but something, I don't know, just anything like that kind of works.
Like, I mean, like I said, it's a mixture of things, but all it really boils down to is how you're leading.
Yeah.
Um, it there's different types of guilds. There's hardcore, semi-hardcore. I don't know where that term even came from. Casual,
Hardcore.
progressive role playing.
Yeah.
You know, and it really depends on how you're leading your guild. I've had guilds come up to me and ask me how we lead, and I'm just like, I mean, I'm just a player. Like, I'm just telling people, hey, here's some news, and hey, here's some optional things you guys can do. I have a forum for the guild where they can sign up for event or not events for guild runs, or on the weekends we teach players specific endgame dungeons. And I mean, it's just small things like that. I think that kind of makes a successful guild. It's just paying attention to your members, like you said, and
Yeah.
you know, actually caring and being online. Being online is an important thing.
Definitely. All right, so let me see. I think that was the last. Yeah, so that was the last question. Do you guys have any input on anything? I guess tips for newer players, or yeah, newer players, since that's what this is generally for, is the newer players. Do you have any like anything useful? I guess to let them know. I'm not sure of what, but of anything. If not, then it's all good.
Well, I think, like I was saying before, take your time with the game.
Yeah.
It's a good MMO, but if you're either not accustomed to MMOs or you just have never played this game, take it slow. I mean, learn your skills, have fun with the story. You don't have to rush to 65 just because a lot of
Everybody
people are
else, yeah.
65. You know, or a majority are, or just because someone's telling you, oh, you're such a noob, you're not 65. Chances are that same person probably doesn't even know how to, like I said, buff, like that priest
Yeah.
I saw. So,
Then
you
you
know,
had me
just
check
take your
my,
time.
got me checking if I had my buffs active real quick.
Yeah.
But
Also,
yeah, no, I
one big
agree.
thing. Make sure you're always using a crystal bind when you're doing a
Oh yeah,
dungeon. Always use a crystal bind or a complete crystal bind if you die quite a bit, like myself.
that,
And always use your prime solution after you die.
yeah. Unless if you're not elite, then make sure you got like 100 of those solutions, the elite solutions, whatever they're
Yep.
called. Oh, by the
Uh,
way, for everyone, there is a oh shit. Well, all right. So there is inner armor that you can buy in the Tera store. Before I forget, and what is it? How much does it cost? 200 if you're elite, 250 if you're not. And you guys can have a chance of getting the signature innerwears. So the innerwears like kind of like this one. You can get it in Gilly Glade as well. Before, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna forget, and I know I was gonna forget.
oh, you didn't cut me off.
All right,
It's no
but
worries.
it'll be like this one. You can get this one or the black innerwear. It's the same stats, but they're um, different colors, different types. And you can get the crit factor, you can get power, you can get mana points, you can get what is it, health and endurance, I think. And you can get all that just from that, but it's a chance. It's not guaranteed on getting the orange one.
Right.
But I think that's it for this Terra talk. That was an hour. That was good questions, good answers. Thank you guys for pitching in, chiming in, your opinions, and all that good stuff.
Thank you for having
Of
me.
course, thanks for inviting me. Yeah.
Yep. And I guess we'll see everyone else. Peace.